And welcome to another Cardinals Nest. This is HBC TV 25, and the Cardinals Nest is a program where we sit around and just talk about St. Mary's athletics. I am Dean Beckman, and this is Donnie Nedboo, and we are taping this on Halloween. And so, Donnie, we decided since it's Halloween, we'd kind of shake things up a little bit. Usually we have on some coaches and or athletes, and today we do have two athletes on the show, but we're actually not even going to talk about their sports today.
Have you seen them compete?
Yeah.
There's a reason.
I totally agree.
We had Alec on the show last year. He's a tennis player. We've got Anthony Pasquesi joining us today. Anthony, you're a track and field athlete, but that's not where we're going today. Donnie, why don't you tell our audience exactly what we decided to do?
The thought process was as the fall seasons wind down and the winter seasons pick up, we'd get what I consider two of our St. Mary's athletic experts in the Squeeze, as everybody on campus knows the radio show The Squeeze, and we just talk about Cardinal athletics with two athletes, but also just kind of pick their brains in terms of what they've seen this year, what they're expecting from the winter seasons, and get it from a different perspective than just you and I.
Right, because not only are they athletes, but they're also sort of our on-campus media analysts, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So, Alec, we introduced you last year. You're from Hastings, of course,
Yes,
a junior this year. Anthony, tell us about yourself a little bit, because you haven't been on the Cardinals Nest before.
I have not. I'm very, very excited. I'm from Chicago. I'm a junior at St. Mary's, and I do run track. I'm a double major in sports management and digital media journalism in the communications department under Dean Beckman.
Yes.
And I'm really into sports media. You know, that's what I think both of us want to do for a living, and so we're happy to be on television for the first time today.
I mean, you can put this on your resume then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just another thing to add on there.
I'm a two-time. Anthony, one of the things that I wanted to, one of the reasons that I wanted you two on was, you talk about your majors and you want to get into this, but you've created a radio show. I call it radio, and you put it online as well, but it's called The Squeeze. Talk a little bit about that and how you and Alec kind of came up with that idea, and really it's taken off. You bring on a lot of different athletes on the show. You talk about a variety of different things. Just talk about the birth of The Squeeze.
Yeah, you kind of just explained it right there. It started out on KSMR, which was our our school radio station that is no longer, sadly. But we decided to stream it on YouTube so that my family back home could watch it. And now that's the only way that you can watch it. But I learned that we had a radio station on campus, and I love sports radio more than anything. So immediately I was like, okay, let's do this. St. Mary's Sports Radio Show. No one else is doing it. Let's do it. Alec got on pretty much right away, and he's been helping all the way through. As my producer, co-host, we never really decided on a title.
But he does a lot more work than I do.
It's definitely my baby, but I couldn't raise it without Alec. So it's every Sunday, and we're going to continue doing it because it really has taken off, and I think we're really thankful for the support.
It's sort of our competitor, Donnie.
Yeah.
And, like Anthony does a little more work according to Alec, you do a lot more work on this show.
So, Alec, talk a little bit about some of the other things that you're doing, because when we had you on last year, we talked a lot about your internship at the X Games, but that's just a little bit of what you're doing right now. Talk a little bit about all the other fires or irons you have in the fire.
Yeah. To be honest, I was thinking about this question before I came here because originally I was supposed to intern for this guy and do some social media work, but some other jobs have kind of taken toll. I'll talk with you about that later. But right now, I'm currently a junior league hockey scout for the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders. They're in the USHL, so that's more of a top-end junior league to kind of get ready for Division I hockey. So I'm doing work with them. I go to high school games, prep games as well. That's basically every week. Saturday, I'm going to 5 games to go watch, and that's been like my dream job is to scout hockey and just analyze hockey. So very thankful for that. I also work at Layton Broadcasting Studios. I know Anthony does some work with him as well, do board ops, and hopefully I can do some play-by-play. He's done some Winona football games as well. And then also still broadcasting all the sports, and that's why I think it's such a good idea that we're both in here, because he does the PA a lot. He'll help me with broadcasting. He does more of the radio show. So I think like him and I, we more equal each other out in the stuff we do, and we help each other in the stuff we do. And we're so close with all the games. We see how the coaches interact and how others interact. So I think you got two good analysts here to
And
cover.
Donnie, we've already determined we can't let them graduate.
That's right.
And now you hear why.
Well, and as Anthony said, because his major is under you, you control that. And so, we may have Anthony on 5 years from now.
I hope not.
But I would say, and Alec, maybe you can talk about this. I think that's one of the great things about St. Mary's, right? Is we sort of outside of the classroom encourage and allow you to do some of those opportunities. Right?
Yeah, well, freshman year for like the broadcasting, I think it was a weekend of school. I saw you out in the plaza advocating like sports broadcasters, and I saw some people with you, and then I'm like, yeah, I'll do it, and then. A month later, I'm like,
You're in
I feel like I put on my resume. I put head sports broadcaster. I don't
Absolutely,
care
you
if that's
are.
not the
That's
current,
right, yeah.
but that's what I'm gonna call it. So there's so many opportunities, and Anthony and I we've worked hard, but to be honest, it's come easy to us, thankfully, just because of the opportunities that we had and all the people that have helped us.
Well, and it's fun, and it applies to what you want to do
Exactly.
after college. So
I think one of the things before we kind of dive into this that has expanded your repertoire together. We had our first ever night in the nest, which was a basketball introduction for our two teams. And before I let you two talk about that, because you guys did do the play-by-play for it, I want people to go online and watch the YouTube video of this play-by-play between these two, because Alec, who's now a junior, did not know that it's the St. Mary's gym and not Okromovich Field that he was broadcasting from.
I
So
misspoke.
Anthony, I'm going to let you take it from there. Talk a little bit about that night.
I mean, he's so used to broadcasting all of our soccer games at Okromovich Field.
I'll continue. You go on, and I have something to say after.
Okay. But yeah, the night in the nest was awesome. We kind of, the night before, we're just, let's broadcast it. It'll be such a good idea to show everybody back home. We had a 3-point contest. We had a dunk contest. There was a fun little musical chairs thing going on. And it was a great event to really get to know the athletes a little bit more, because a lot of those players are never going to have that again. The ones who don't start are never going to be under the spotlight getting announced as a starter. So that was really cool for the freshmen to kind of, their first experience as a St. Mary's athlete, to be in front of 250 people, I heard, showed up for the event, and then also all the thousands watching on the Stretch Internet live stream.
Yeah, well, normally I do the play-by-play, and I had to work the camera too, and we were just trying to have fun. I'm zooming in and out. Robbie Sobczak doing musical chairs. I zoom in. I go, hey, Robbie. And so that's why I said Okromovich Field, because I had to work the camera, and
Robbie's there.
there wasn't anything on my mind, so I just said Okromovich Field, and then this guy did the play-by-play, and it was so
I
fun.
hope he got me with a mouthful of pizza, because I was just sitting in the bleachers enjoying pizza that night.
It was
So before we talk winter, because I'd like to do that, but let's talk a little bit about the fall. Alec, I'll start with you. Biggest surprise of the fall, in your opinion, from a Cardinal athletic standpoint?
I would say men's soccer. I think that Augsburg one was huge. I know they didn't pull out some of the big ones, but I think we made predictions on the squeeze earlier, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought they were gonna finish just below that. I said like 3 wins, and right now I think they have 4. So I really liked how they've been playing. I'm trying to think of more main sports. I know soccer and volleyball is the main sports, and then I didn't even think about it. I guess volleyball beating those, how many nationally ranked teams was it?
2.
Three.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just seeing that, I think that St. Ben's one, I wish I stayed back and announced, because I was so jealous that when I saw that happen, I'm like, wow, this is for real. And obviously they have a big one coming up. But
Anthony, just kind of piggybacking on the men's soccer, I thought that their performance, it just seemed like this team, this group of guys really gelled. And I know Corbin's really been working on that, and I know that he had mentioned that this is a great group, a great team that really has done some great things this year.
Yeah, for sure. They only lost one important senior from last season. Of course, that was the goalie, which is a big position to lose. But, Robbie Sobczak, Josh Balsiger, just the senior group, Yael Calderon, they've all worked so hard. And like you said, they've just gelled together. And then you have these young guys, John-Luke Nahorski, Eli Szymanski, the playmakers on the team are younger. So it's going to be great to see those guys grow up under the guidance of Robbie Sobczak and Josh Balsiger. These 2 years with guys like that have really been huge for the young players.
I think what's really been fun this fall, aside from the cold, because it's really been a terrible fall for soccer.
Yeah.
It's been awful. Every home game we have is either rained or snowed or
I've not enjoyed
wind blowing or whatever it is. But to see the amount of goals that have been scored. You know, you mentioned Josh Balsiger, Eli Szymanski with 10 goals. Both of those have 10. Then you flip over to the women, who, by the way, won their 10th game of the season, which is the first time since '07 that we've had a women's soccer program with 10 wins. But you've got Jordan Matthews with 15 goals, leads the conference. Talk a little bit from what you guys watched about our offensive explosion, really, on both of those teams.
Well, my favorite game was the St. John's game for men. It was just back and forth. They were scoring left and right. It was 5-3, and I'm like, I like to watch it. When I'm broadcasting, I like to watch it. And then you talk about Jordan Matthews. Like, St. Mary's is a school where you don't see transfers coming in and making that big of an impact. More up top at the St. Thomas and in the cities area where probably recruits they're more attracted to, you'll see there. But her coming in here, I think, and she's right up top in that leaderboard with Ashley St. Albert and Megan Thompson. Those are names that we were familiar with coming in. And then Jordan Matthews, her first actual year in the MIAC. I think that's so cool.
You know, what's interesting is looking at the women, and it's kind of sad because Jordan has been so productive offensively, is the play of Gabby Peterson in goal.
Yeah.
I mean, she recorded her 8th shutout against McAllister. That's 4th all time in a single season, and it's almost like secondary. She's just been so solid for 4 years.
Yeah, and it really is going to be unfortunate because the offensive side of this team is still so young. They're barely losing anybody, if anybody. I don't think they are. So it's going to be sad to see Gabby Peterson leave because it kind of feels like one side of the ball was really good for a really long time in Gabby Peterson, and now the offense is really good. I think next year the stars would have aligned really well. So it's going to be sad to see a great goalie go, Gabby Peterson.
Yeah.
And one more question here in this first segment, so we'll continue with fall sports. Anthony, your friends on the cross-country team. They've had a nice season. Of course, the women's MIAC championship this weekend.
Yeah, both of them, both sides, men and women, are heading to compete in the MIAC championships, and it's a small team at St. Mary's. It's a small cross-country team. I think our track team is a little bit better as a whole in the winter and spring season. So we're not looking for placing high in the conference,
right.
Just individual, personal bests moving towards that track season. Coach Nick Larson and Coach Niels Anderson have been working really hard with the group that they have. And I know Nick Larson has a lot of ambitions for these next recruiting classes coming up.
All right, so that's going to do it for the first segment. So we've kind of talked about the fall sports, but we have a whole bunch of winter sports to preview, and we'll do that next on the Cardinals Nest on HBC.
From the producers of Live PD,
Sheriff's Department search warrant!
a new series follows the search for the country's most wanted fugitives with host Tom Morris Jr.
Okay, Live PD Nation, it's time to ride.
Live PD Nation, you've helped catch 20 fugitives.
Keep your hands in the air!
But the search
All right, fellas, nice and easy. Let's do it right now.
is just getting started.
Police!
Live PD Wanted, Thursdays at 10 on A&E.
The Big 12 is not for the weak. You face Red River shootouts and destructive cyclones, with cowboys and longhorns ready to take you down. Every week, you fight or surrender. Win or lose, you do. Or you don't. There is no other choice. Big 12 football on FS1, or watch anywhere on the Fox Sports app.
And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest. A little larger panel than usual. Dean Beckman, Donnie Netto, Alec, Rudh, Anthony Pasquesi. They are our student media analysts, where we talk about St. Mary's sports here on the Cardinals Nest. And in the first segment, we touched on most of the fall sports. Need to get to a little bit of volleyball action yet. And then in this segment, we'll kind of preview the winter sports season with hockey, basketball, swimming, and diving. But volleyball. Tremendous season. Alec, you mentioned they've beaten 3 ranked teams already and knocking on that playoff door. It's been a fabulous season.
Yeah, no, and I think they're so balanced throughout, too. I couldn't really tell you one star. Obviously, losing Brandy Blattner last year, there were so many questions. I know we had so many questions coming in, but them sitting right there, I think in the preseason poll with the coaches, they were predicted about 7th or so. And what they're doing, I think, like I hear around campus, people talking like, did you hear them beat the 6th ranked team in the country? Like, that is just crazy. And having that hype, I can't remember that a lot of sports where you have that amount of success even up top, they have lost some that were they could be better down low, but you don't see that much success up top for a team like that.
I think one of the individuals who really stands out is Lillian Braun. I mean, what a season she's had. You know, when you look at it, and I'm a numbers guy, but when she can eclipse 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000 assists in the same year, that's pretty impressive. She's got over 1,000 this year. She eclipsed 2,000 for her career in the first match of the year, and then just eclipsed the 3,000. So, Anthony, your thoughts volleyball-wise?
Yeah, I mean, early in the season, I had a lot of expectations for them, and they were not meeting it. And I hammered them for it on the squeeze pretty much weekly. And then we went off the air for a week, and we come back, and they've beaten the Bennies, they've beaten the Olies, and they're playing up to the expectations, and now they have a chance to make the playoffs, so very excited to see there. We knew that they had all the talent in the world. They just weren't meshing at the beginning of the season, and now I think it's safe to say they are definitely meshing.
Yeah, definitely clicking. All right, let's shift over to the winter season, and since Alec is having a little trouble here, we'll start with you, Anthony. Anthony, basketball. Talk a little bit about your thoughts. The men open up on Saturday, exhibition game against Winona State. Talk a little bit about what expectations you have on the men's side.
I think it's simple. It's one word. It's playoffs. I think this team has a very good chance to make the playoffs, surprise a lot of people in the conference, and to be honest, surprise a lot of people on campus. This team, at least since I've been at school, since you've been at school, hasn't been very good, and they're definitely going to turn that around this season. It's my pinned tweet on my Twitter account. My freshman year, their point differential was negative 600 points. Their point differential last year was negative 100. Now, to keep up that trajectory of plus 500 is going to be difficult, but if they do, they'll be third place in the conference. So I'm not expecting third place, but I am definitely expecting playoffs.
So Alec, what will it take for them? What are they going to have to get better at to take that next step that Anthony's talking about?
I think it's support players around Eli Cave. I think that's going to be everything. I think we were at their scrimmage, and I think it's going to be kind of a different look team than last year. I know there wasn't too many seniors, but I think the supporting players around him, everyone's going to be guarding him tight, so you need support players around them, and you're seeing that at Division I level as well. It's hard to have one superstar take over a whole game at any level.
Is KG going to be the key to that, Kevin
Oh,
Gleason?
my goodness. Going to that scrimmage last Saturday, he looks like he's put on 10 pounds of muscle, and he's making every single three-point shot that he is shooting. He's going to be a huge piece, Kevin Gleason in the shooting guard position.
And here I thought it was just me that put on 10 pounds. That's not. How about the women's team? Definitely a new look this year, I think, from Coach David Foley. You know, he came so late in his first year as head coach last year, didn't really have time to implement his system, but he has had time now. So what do you expect there?
We were talking earlier, we think that a team more like this where you don't necessarily have a superstar, I think it's going to work better in Coach Foley's system. I think we both agreed with that. I think you're going to see maybe 3 players each get around like 10 to 12 points every game, and I think it's going to be a fast team. They're going to press hard. I know he's talked with Coach Foley about some of the stuff that he wants out of the season.
Yeah, I mean, they saw what the Augies were doing to them last year in Augsburg, and they learned from it. They said, hey, they're pressing us hard, and it's working, and we think we can do that as well. This team doesn't have a lot of height, but they have a lot of speed. That's their calling card, and they're going to use it a lot this season. They're going to press hard, they're going to run fast break, and it's kind of hard to say that this team is going to be better now that they're losing their All-American, but there's a high likelihood that is the case.
Well, I think they're going to be more balanced. I think like Alex said, and I really think that their non-conference schedule is going to do nothing but benefit them. If you look at who they play, I mean, they open up against Winona State, Division II. 2 days later, they play Oshkosh, right now ranked number 8 in the country. And Alec made me think of that when he talked about the players scoring maybe 10 to 12 points. Oshkosh made it to the Sweet 16 last year and did not have a player that averaged in double figures. So they used that balance. And I think that you're right, Alec, that's where we're going to be successful. They're not going to have to rely just on Brooklyn Paulson. I think that a Jada Biermeyer is going to be a key to this team in how she steps into probably a more prominent role than she had last year with Brandy being around. But it's definitely going to be up-tempo and exciting to see.
Yeah, the other thing you need if you're going to play that kind of style is depth. And that's another, I think, strength of the women's team. It was last year, and it certainly is again this year. They've got so many players they can put out there and not lose much as far as quality goes. So that's going to be key. I think anytime you play a fast-paced, up-tempo, pressing style, the key is you have to finish when you get chances, because they're going to get a lot of layup opportunities, close baskets, but you got to finish, right?
Normally the players that come off the bench too aren't that tall either, so you got speed coming off the bench, and Claire Patterson, Isabel Bateg, if they come off the bench, they bring speed, and players for other teams that they've been on the floor for maybe the whole game, they're not going to keep up with that pace a lot.
One of the interesting things is if you look at the winter, you can break it in half. You've got Coach Foley and Coach Fano now. They're entering their second year. And then you go with the hockey coaches. You've got Coach Egan and Coach Murray who are entering their first. Where is the advantage for Fano and Foley having that year under their belts heading into year 2? Does that change the expectation a little bit?
Yeah, I think for sure. Last year, it was kind of whatever good happened was great, and whatever bad happened wasn't their fault because it was their first year. This year, if something doesn't go well, it's going to be their fault, basically. So they're going to have to deal with that. More criticism is going to come down on them if they do struggle. But now they're able to put their mark on these two teams. Like you said, Coach Foley is really going to implement his system. And Coach Fano, I said it on the Squeeze last Sunday, he has all the pieces. I mean, if you look at this team, there are 10 deep of people who could start on pretty much any MyX school team. So he has all the pieces. We're just going to have to see if he puts those pieces together.
And I'll add on to that, I think the hockey coaches, just with their resume and what they've done, I would say, and like I expect both teams to make the playoffs this year just from what I think. And I think their expectations are going to be different than the basketball's expectations, just more of a down season for the men's basketball team beforehand. And with the resume that Murray and Egan both have, I think the hockey coaches, I think they're feeling a little bit more pressure than maybe Fano and Foley would feel in their first year.
Hockey scout, what's going to be the key for the men's team? What is it? They graduated 2. They returned their top 10 scorers. So what's going to be the key for them to make sure they're in that top 5?
I think the defense have to stay back. I notice in the scrimmage, the defense, when they get up in the 2-on-1s, and then that's a lot of the goals that the Cardinals give up, I think, is more 2-on-1s. So I think Tyson Liverance and Kyle Mee are 2 of the best D in the MIC I have seen in a while, and I think them and then whoever will step in that goalie position, because there's 4 goalies, and Blair Sanders, he played good that night. He didn't allow any goals in the scrimmage, so you can really see, I don't know who's going to be in goal. I know Nass was last year, but you never know.
You know, we talk a lot on this show about the depth and the strength of the MIAC. In hockey, the polls just came out, the men's and the women's preseason coaches polls. In the men's side, 4 teams got at least 1 first-place vote. Wow. On the women's side, you've got 2 teams that were in the NCAA Final Four, in the Frozen Four, in Hamlin and Augsburg.
St. Thomas.
St. Thomas.
Yep.
So it kind of shows that this is one tough conference.
Yeah. I think I was kind of upset how the Cardinals kind of got placed. I think obviously the preseason poll is important, but there's so much, I think up top, like you have Augsburg, you have St. Thomas, you have Hamlin up there for the women. I think up top is pretty self-explanatory for both, and I think the Cardinals this year, my goal is try to get in that 4th or 5th spot. We were like 5th in both last year, and if we can get in that 4, and then maybe in a couple of years while these coaches start developing, getting more recruits, which they both probably should with their resume and their experience, then we can start inching towards that top 3 area.
Now we get to put both of you on the spot now, because I know it's not your strength. Anthony, I'll start with you. Swimming and diving. Talk a little bit about what Coach Lowe has done this year with our swim teams.
Yeah, well, they've gotten off to a pretty hot start. They finished 3rd place in an all-conference kind of invitational last weekend. Brooke Shevchak has continued her record-breaking ways. She's very, very talented in the pool. And then Griffin, I mean, he has all the records. So if he PRs, he's just going to keep continuing to break them.
You know, I find what's interesting with the swim teams this year is kind of the way that coach has set up the schedule. A lot more duels this year than they had last year. You look at, they opened up with a duel against Concordia and then against Iowa Lakes Community College. They went to Hamlin. And then they've got a couple more duels this weekend and then another duel next weekend. And I think it gives our athletes a little more competition head-to-head rather than in a big invitational where, you know what, we could swim maybe our best PR and still finish, maybe in the top 10. So I think it's kind of a good strategy on Coach Lowe's part to do some head-to-head where that competition is more against just one team rather than, 6 or 7.
There's totally something to say there. I run track, and I know that when I'm at a dual meet, if I'm beating everybody on that one other team, it makes me feel really good because I'm better than every I'm better than every jumper at that school. And that's the same thing in the pool. If you're better than every swimmer at that one pool or at that one school, you feel really good about yourself, and you can run or swim the exact same time at that meet that you did at an invitational where you finished 5th, and you feel a lot worse about yourself. So it is definitely a confidence boost.
So Anthony, just a minute left here before we get to something else, but give us a little preview of the indoor track and field season.
Okay, well, outdoor, last year, the Cardinals had the second most national qualifiers in the conference, which is amazing. And I expect to see the same thing happening this year. We have a relay that can definitely make it in the national meet. High jumpers, both Rachel Odie and Christian Beamer, can challenge for the MIAC championship and go to nationals. And then hopefully myself, I can put it together, get up there, finish all conference, and hopefully qualify for the national meet.
We might actually have Anthony on as an athlete next time.
Hopefully.
So as we mentioned, we're taping this on Halloween. And obviously these two came dressed as Hollywood supermodels. I came dressed as a professor. And Donnie here came as a magician today. And so, Donnie, we'd like to see a little magic.
So I just, as we close this segment, I'd just like to toast you all and say Happy Halloween.
Yeah, it's an invisible bottle.
Look at that. How are you doing that, Donnie?
Should we tell them what it actually is?
No. Magician never reveals.
That's right.
Never.
That's right.
Secrets, right? So, all right, that's going to do it for this week's Cardinals Nest. Thanks to Anthony Pasquesi, Alec, Rudh, of course, Donnie Netto. I'm Dean Beckman. Thanks for watching here on HBC TV 25.
We haven't been through a whole lot, but at the end of the day, we are family.
We stick together. Why you think they call us lions?
It's always been Cookie and Lucius. Through crime, punishment, bloodshed, somehow or another, we always find our way back together, don't we?
Empire, Tuesdays on Fox, or watch anytime on demand or Fox Now. From the producers of Live PD,
Sheriff's Department search warrant!
a new series follows the search for the country's most wanted fugitives with host Tom Morris Jr.
Okay, Live PD Nation, it's time to ride.
Live PD Nation, you've helped catch 20 fugitives.
Keep your hand in the air!
But the search
All right, fellas, nice and easy. Let's do it right now.
is just getting started.
Police!
Live PD Wanted, Thursdays at 10 on A&E.
You just don't screw up when it comes to people's lives. One simple, stupid mistake.
It's very scary.
That's putting your life at risk.
Oh my God.
What you don't know can hurt you.
That looks very illegal.
Mike Holmes and his son are on a mission to help homeowners make it right.
Let's get to work.
All new Wednesday night at 9, only on DIY Network.
In the Pac-12, it's all about the fight. The enemy has a beat on you, so you bear down with clenched teeth. Without warning, you unleash a stampede. You fight for your pride. You fight for your colors. You fight on to live another day. Pac-12 football on FS1, or watch anywhere on the Fox Sports app.